Hey, it looks like we're live. And I'm grateful to be live with you all. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Rise Up, Evolutionary Conversations. I am so grateful to be here with my brother and friend and fellow sojourner, Mitra, who many of you know from Rythmia. And so I want to just welcome you, Mitra. And
welcome.
Yeah, brother. Thank you. I didn't mean to step on you, but I want to give you a full introduction. So if what I want to do also is get this set up on stream so that I can see all the comments coming through. So now that that's done, I want to introduce everybody as people are starting to come on. We've got people coming on now, and super excited to welcome everyone to this conversation with Mitra. And I have to tell you about this amazing individual. I'm going to read something, but before I read it, I want to just speak from my heart and say, if there's a saying that says that someone who's truly enlightened, their voice will sound like a river, a stream, a brook, just gentle as a brook. And Mitra, your voice is always that. It's so gentle and soft, but not weak. And that is how I know you, as a powerful, gentle, insightful individual. So I'm super excited to have this opportunity to speak with you. And now the formal introduction. For over 20 years, author and spiritual guide Mitra Politit has been under the radar, intuitive healer and trusted teacher to fellow spiritual luminaries seeking a direct personal connection to spirit. Mitra is the spiritual director for Rythmia Life Advancement Center, our home, or one of our homes, and as well as a traditional Chinese medicine and certified acupuncturist and practitioner of indigenous Colombian healing. For 2 decades, Mitra's been living in Costa Rica in an ecological and spiritual community called Pachamama. For many years, he maintained an acupuncture clinic and designed and taught numerous transformational programs within the Pachamama community and abroad. And it was in 2012, and we're going to talk about this, when Mitra was invited by Taita Juanito Shindoy, an indigenous Colombian healer from the Inga and Seonoa nations, to deepen his understanding of and connection to their ancient wisdom. So he continues alongside Taita Juanito today, and luminaries such as Michael Beckwith, Graham Hancock, Jack Canfield, Kimberly Carter Gamble, Foster Gamble, Anita Morjani, and other friends. There's friends of his, and they have commented on the book, and they have lauded this first book. And you'll be amazed, as I was in reading it. So I want to just welcome you, Mitra.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother.
That's an honor. So, man, I'm looking here. Just at some comments coming in. We've got a wonderful number of people online right now. So many people. Welcome to Dorota and Debbie, and so many people. I know there's more than the comments that I've seen here, but Linda, hey Linda, from Utah. So many people from Rythmia who have come and been present at your amazing Thursday night ceremonies. So we all know you. That's how I know you, from Rythmia.
Yeah.
And I want to know, and I think everybody else wants to know, and everybody, as you're chiming in, feel free to send a question. Levi, hey, what's up? So Mitra, you were born in Israel. Tell me about your origin story. You know, what got you from Israel to Costa Rica?
Oh, what really got me from Israel to Costa Rica is being in tune and craving and longing for a free spirit. And then once I started to follow that and to listen to that, it's always brought something new at my door. It's after I've been in Israel and I passed through the Israeli army, and then after that I started to learn Chinese medicine, but I knew that I will not walk in the familiar social contract path. I just listened pretty good to where my heart wants to take me, and I was just following that. It was always the most important thing for me. is where my heart calls to be. And I found myself in Costa Rica, coming to Pachamama to practice more meditation and to sit with Awaken teacher to deepen my understanding of who I am and what is this true phenomenon of being human. But it's the same. The same call took me to India, to the Far East, and the same took me to Colombia, to the jungle.
Okay, so you were in Israel. You were in the army. You did your mandatory time there. There was something in you that called, that said, "There's more. I won't be walking this normal path." What? And then you went to India. I didn't know that. So you went from Israel to India, or give me some background.
Yes, it's kind of in Israel. A lot of the people that they are finishing the army, they go to travel. So it was very common. But I went to travel in India for almost a year, and then after that, every year for 3 months, I went to India. India was a huge source that evoked my meditation and my understanding of what is spirituality, not from like the Jewish tradition that have strict prayers and a strict way of should or should not, but how it is to meet the spiritual self through direct experience. And India was the first place that really light me on fire, I would say. And and it was, I fall in love with India, and I would go back to India almost every year for 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you sitting with a guru? Were you in a community? Were you just traveling?
In India, I was just traveling, and many times just going into the mountains and doing yoga and meditation. Part of the time, my teacher that was there also in India in that part, and it's the same teacher that I am with in Costa Rica.
Wait,
In Pachamama, in the community.
so the teacher that you were with in India, what is from India, but is at Pachamama now, or was at Pachamama and went to India and you met him there?
Is originally is from Israel, but his awakening process happened in India, and he was used to be a lot of in India, and then Pachamama came later on. So I was just following that
urge, right? So 8 years you're in Israel and going back and forth to India, and studying Chinese medicine at this time.
Yes, I studied Chinese medicine for 4 years in a college, in medicine college, and this is where I start to understand more about the structure of energy and healing, and the technology that is behind the way to heal. And the Chinese medicine have a very beautiful and direct map to understand and also to execute healing.
I love that. The energetic body of Chinese medicine versus the sort of the way the body is dissected in Western medicine. But I don't want to get off on that. So you're going back and forth, you're studying Chinese medicine, you're going back and forth to India, working on this direct experience with the divine. Something's calling you, it sounds like. And how did you find Costa Rica?
So in one point, as I engage in more silence retreats and satsang with the teacher, I wanted to go and to deepen my experience and to deepen the path of awakening. So I heard that they build a community in Costa Rica, a bunch of amazing group of people, and I just bought a flight ticket and I came. My idea in the beginning was just to come for 2 months to go deep into meditation and to illuminate and to heal as much as I can. But after 3 weeks, I realized that this is the place that I need to stay in.
Wow.
Here, 20 years past by.
So was there any part of your experience in the Israeli army that caused you to want to move to a spiritual, deepen your spiritual practice?
For sure, not so much directly, but indirectly, I understood what it means to live in conflict. As you know, the Mediterranean, it's just, you feel the conflict in the air. And in that time, in 2000, there was a lot of terrorist attack in Israel. And I realized that I don't want to live my life surrounded with conflict. And I prefer to look for a way to live in peace, to live in harmony, to live in a place that nature is more dominant and less the interest of religion or politics. Just to move from it in order to get to know myself better, because when we are in a surrounding that have a conflict, sooner or later that conflict become part of us. Sooner or later that conflict, we are finding ourselves that this conflict is activated inside of us. So many times, in order for us to find the inner peace, we need to have a clean environment, and that was very important for me. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so much of what we do, whether it's in our own personal practice, with the plant medicine, in all of the areas that you've been working, is about finding that inner peace. And on page 19 of Insights, you write, life is friction, and the friction of duality. Do you believe, so that life is this play between, I think you wrote, light and dark, and love and peace, and or I thought I had highlighted it, but
there is a duality, for sure. There is a duality, right?
And so and yet, I guess I'll ask you this: do you believe the spiritual principle that behind all duality is a singularity?
Of course.
And if so, how do we? What are your beautiful insights around how we can apply this truth to the visceral experiences that are happening in the Middle East? I mean, and there's an irony here. I'm of Lebanese parentage, right? Yeah. So here we have, peaceful, loving brothers here, but over there we might not be. And how do we apply this to the duality and polarization that we see in the Middle East, that we see in the United States politics, that we see all around, these beautiful words of this recognition of the friction of life?
So first is important to see the duality that we are having, to see the inner conflict, that there is a part in us that wants one thing, or that vote for one thing and then wants another. To see the inner conflict between believing something on the outside but wanting something else inside. This is important for us first to see that there is a split in us, because we cannot be in two places in the same time. Once we recognize the conflict, then it's important in meditation, in our prayer, in our practice, to just there where the conflict is, to inject peace. Just there where the conflict is, to inject love. And an amazing thing is happen. It can starts to come together.
Yes.
Yeah. When we are going deeper into meditation, then of course we are realizing that we are not A and we are not B. Yeah, we are something that is more whole. But I remember going to Peru, to the mountains, and for 3 months, this is what I did. I was meditating and using the plant medicine as well. And I looked, where is my conflict? Where is my inner conflict? And I was injecting there the peace. I was injecting there the love. After these 3 months, the reality around me change in a significant way. I didn't have any more conflict. I didn't have any more conflict. And what I found out that the surrounding didn't have any conflict with me as well.
It is magical. I have to say, I've had some personal inner conflict in my life recently, interpersonal relationships, and was called to go into the mountains for just a few days and be silent. And that really was the exact message that I received in my meditations was, and this actually a little bit about the ego, when you write about the ego, that the answers aren't going to come from the thinking mind. I think I did write this quote down, and it's so beautiful. No, I didn't. You're right about the ego. I can pull it up. Actually, I have it here. But that the answers aren't going to come from the thinking mind. I believe you're right. And
no, they cannot. Some of the answer, yes.
This is what you're saying. Like, you have to just inject it with peace, drop the thinking about it. Right? There's the answer isn't going to come from thinking about the political situation. The answer is going to be a revolution in consciousness by imbuing that with peace and seeing it healed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. It's like there is also so much that we can change the outside, no? But there is so much that we can change the inside. Yeah, and now is a good example for what is happening. We cannot control what is happening outside of us and how the world is moving and behaving and dealing with what is happening. But we can definitely reorganize ourselves. We can definitely reorganize ourselves. We can definitely drop into a place that there is harmony, that there is prosperity, that there is beauty inside of us. And when we do that, that is being reflected on the outside.
Yes. I love the way that you said that, organize ourselves. And,
yes.
and that kind of speaks to me of the old Kriya yoga tradition, right? Of organizing that energy within us.
Yes, because many times it's like we have everything. Everything is there. Many times we think we need to throw stuff out. But actually, we just need to look at it better and to reorganize it in such a way that once it's organized, then there is harmony, no? It's like you can see it in a mandala. When there is a mandala that you don't add anything, just there is this order in the mandala, it reflects one thing. But if you put things together, the mandala starts suddenly reflect beauty. So is like this with our internal mandala.
Yes.
Yeah? To put things as they need to be, as they are. What is our priorities for our life? What is our priorities? If my priority is on love, if my priority is on my family, if my priority is on survival, what is it? And to put all of this in the right priority, then we reorganize in it. Like this, it's a step toward harmony.
In this prioritization of love, as I mentioned in the beginning, just kind of my experience of you is very gentle and powerful, like not soft, not, there's a strength there. There's a tenderness and a toughness. Yeah. I've seen you work with people in ceremony in that same way. So I think will you talk a little bit more about that in terms of what you were just saying about if my priority is love, but that doesn't mean I'm a doormat, especially when it comes to acting in the outer world. How do you reconcile?
Yes, we need to see, instead of reacting, we need to respond. And sometimes we need to respond with grace. Sometimes we need to respond with strength. So it's once we have both of it inside of us, then it's just a choice. What I do need to choose now, I need to choose softness, I need to choose strength, and I can choose. But the first thing is to develop them within ourselves. And meditation is something that is very important to develop that softness when we are engaging with energy that is full of grace inside of us.
Mm.
That gives birth to something more feminine. That gives birth into something more soft in our approach, in our compassion. Um, Being and dealing with the outside world when we sometimes need to put our protection, or that we need to use our sharpness, or we need to move something forward, then we need to use that tool of strength. Yeah. So having that experiences and evaluating both of them and giving space for both of them, then not judging none of them.
Mm.
Yeah, not judging our softness, not judging our strength, but seeing how we are responding, how we can respond better in a given moment. Yeah, that
Yeah.
anyway makes us more present.
Say that last part again.
That anyway makes us more present. We don't
Yes.
act automatically. We need to not to act. We need to respond.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
How did you? So you know, kind of going back to your origin story, you found Costa Rica and this teacher and community. When was the first time you experienced plant medicine in this journey?
The first time that I experienced plant medicine was within a community, and in the beginning I was not drawn to it so much because I come from the Chinese medicine, understanding how to heal the body, and there is a very strict format. But later on, I understand that the plants and what comes from nature also is there to support me with my meditation, and that I lacked a lot. This was when I fall in love with the plant medicine because they were supporting my meditation. Yeah.
And I mean, we say plant medicine, we're talking about ayahuasca specifically, and more, even more specifically, yahe. Can you talk a little bit about the differences and your experience and preference, or yeah,
Well,
just explain a little bit more.
I prefer to talk more about the book, but generally they are coming from the same plant. They just use a different leaf between the ayahuasca and the yahe. Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that we're thrilled to talk, to share the book, and that it's constantly being tagged on our stream so people can see where to get the book on Amazon. And I loved reading your book, man. And it's like I shared with you in the beginning, I could hear in the book the wisdom that you share in ceremony. And it seemed to me that the writing process of this book, as you articulated in the introduction, came over years of your own painful experience, but this wisdom is hard won.
Yes, there is a meeting point. Sometimes in the ceremonies when I talk in the morning, and there is a meeting point between meditation and plant medicine or any spiritual practice. There is, if we are refining it and going deeper, we find a meeting point. And the meeting point is the unity between oneself and creation, the unity between oneself and this phenomena that we are calling life. Yeah. From that meeting point, a lot of palabra, a lot of talk can be shared, a lot of wisdom can be shared. But what is important is that direct experience of the individual, because this is the place when our story can change. Before we before we met creation in a certain harmony, then we can evaluate life only from the perspective of our mind and our experiences or knowledge that we borrowed. But in the time that we meet creation directly, then we have another tune, we have another octave, yeah, that gives priority or gives proportion to our the way that we think, the way that we behave, the way that we are seeing ourselves as a separate unit. There is something that is greater, that lives and coexists in us. Exposing ourselves to that, to any spiritual practice, any practice, that is valued. So the book and the words are aiming there, is to evoke myself, is to evoke the reader to touch that place, or to evoke the longing to that investigation, this inner investigation. Mm-hmm.
In the section titled Change, you write, it is a time when, whether we like it or not, our perception of reality transforms. Either we develop a deeper anxiety towards life, or we mature into a more complete understanding.
Yes, there is, in time of crisis, there is something that is very interesting that is happening, no? Because the impact, because the challenge is so strong, we can collapse, or we can gather ourselves, we can gather the tools that brought us to this moment. We can bring that good experience that we had with life, and we have both. We have bad experiences, we have good experiences, but we are weaving and standing behind the good experiences, the good understanding that we had about life, and we bring that to the surface. When we do that, then the crisis is just a crystallization process that we will come out with more strength or more proof that what works works. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Please go. Were you gonna add a little something on there?
So like this, the crisis is serving us, or the difficulty is serving us to move forward and to evolve. Yeah. We can evolve through harmony and beauty, for sure, but we can also evolve through difficulties and crises. Not that I will choose that, but if it's happened, that we will know how to work with that and how to get the best out of it.
I feel like we've all had the experience of going through something that if we knew before, we'd never want to go through it. But on the other end, there's a pearl, there's something polished and refined in this pain.
Yes.
In fact, in the section on pain, you write, this really I loved, because it spoke to me. To truth, the divine within me I call out, reveal your light in me every moment more, so that my pain will subside, like water evaporating to the heights to dissolve into source. Pain pushes me. Oh, and then I wrote, that was me. I was like, you didn't write that. And my comment was, this pain pushes us, right? It calls us to be more. It calls us to either, like you wrote earlier, either rise or to dive into anxiety, right? It's and this heartfelt, innocent desire to like, relieve me of my pain. You're calling out to the divine. Take this from me. Take this bitter cup from me.
It's this is where our request turns into prayer, you know? And sometimes we need to be squeezed in order to put the right prayer there. Yeah. It is because the need is so clear, then the prayer is also very clear, and this what happened in that moment. Mm-hmm. The need was so clear, so the prayer was so clear, exactly what I was needed. Yeah.
And in that clarity, right? the relief comes. Tell me how the relief comes, right? It seems to me that it's not coming from any logical or thought. It comes from a different way. How does that come for you?
Mm. The relief comes is when we meet the place inside of us that is beyond the pain. When we go and we rest into a place that is completely neutral, the place that doesn't have preference, and in that moment the pain is dissolving. There is many ways, but that poem is relating to that. Is because pain could be very solid, no? And what can melt pain? Love can melt pain.
Yes.
Harmony can melt pain. So when we tap into that inside of us, then we are our own healer. We are melting that pain away. Yeah.
I love
we try to avoid it many times. We try to avoid the pain. We try to numb ourselves, not to feel the pain. But instead of running away from it, if we go through it, if we find the source of goodness inside of us, if we find the source of harmony inside of us, then suddenly it's been transformed and it's been shifted.
I love what you said, that place without preference, that place within us with no preference. And it reminds me of another area in the book where you, let me find it here. Is it desire? Maybe it's desire. Clinging to desires creates separation. Letting go of desire brings unity between oneself and the divine, between oneself and creation. When you talked about that place within us that has no preference, right? Desire is essentially a longing or a lacking, a sense of lack that I need something. Tennessee Williams writes, desire is like an overcoat that's 10 times too big. You know? Right?
Completely.
So this place without preference, this place without longing, this place without desiring to choose one or the other.
Yes, because in the desires, this is the place that we are creating a duality. In the desires, we want more than what there is inside. I'm not saying that we should not strive to gain more, but we need to see where that desire is creating a split in us.
Mm.
When it does, this is the time to put it aside.
So are there different types? Like, it sounds like you're talking about different types of desire. Like there's a healthy desire, wanting to achieve or do something. Can you talk a little bit more about those distinctions?
Oh, this is interesting. So definitely there is different desires. There is the ultimate desire when we want something and that which we want is super in tune with our spiritual path, and it's super in tune with our mission, and it's super in tune with creation. Then what we will feel a wind that is blowing in our back, supporting us.
Yeah.
And things will come together in order for us to manifest. Then we know that we are super in tune. Yeah. And we just need to perform our totality into it. There is other situation in life that we are insisting on something. And by insisting on it, we are finding ourselves controlling, and we are finding ourselves fighting internally, sometimes externally, and conflict. Then is the time to stop. It's time to stop, to reflect, and to reorganize, and to see also if what we are aiming for is truly in tune with our purpose, or we do that for something that is not with all the integrity of who we are.
Hmm.
Many times people will do something in order to gain respect, in order to gain power, in order to gain more money, in order to gain something, but it's not completely in tune with their spirit.
And being in tune with spirit to me is like a true and good desire, right? There's a true and good desire of our heart. And the true and good desires of our hearts are the true and good desires of the divine. But there's that other desire for power, desire for for material, not that material gain is bad in any way, but when that becomes the object in itself, right? These desires become, as you say, not in alignment with the
It
true
could be also a desire for some sort of an addiction. It doesn't have to be for, could be many other addiction that there are also a desire. We need to bring it back into equilibrium, that will be a balance, that what we are doing is representing balance. And the true, let's call it the in tune desires are a pure longing.
Do you, and I do want to talk a little bit more about ceremony and your experience in ceremony, because I do feel these are truths that are revealed in the book, beautiful insights. The book is called Insights, and they are beautiful insights and poetic. But as you're talking about this seeing, this ability, this right seeing, right? And I frequently wonder your ability, especially in ceremony, to see. And what do you see? Do you really, like, I have a sense that you're seeing a lot more than I'm seeing with people, what's going on. Like, you can look at the room and see. These are kind of things that would you share with me a little bit about what you're like?
Yes, definitely. It's, when consciousness or awareness is that sensitivity. As more as we are developing our consciousness, our awareness, then we become more sensitive. We can see more. We can see more inside first. As the meditator go inside, he can see more corners of his own mind. It's like the screen became bigger. And then it's also activating itself on the outside. So I could lead a group and I will be attentive to what is happening. I will almost see where people are at. And with that come what we call the sensitivity to see. What I see is changing many times from one individual to the other. But when I had the clinic for acupuncture, I will do communal acupuncture, and I will see 20 people in a day coming in and out for diagnose, and on a very short time frame of 15 minutes, and I will check the pulse, and I will need to diagnose the person right. That time in the clinic was giving me a lot of tools then to do it on a larger group, to see where the other is at. For that, we need to move ourselves aside. The psychological I am, we need to move it aside, and to be in our center, to be anchored in our center. Like this, what we see is more clear, and we can refer to it better.
So this bracketing of the self, right, gives you clarity. There's so much more I want to talk to you about. I do want to say there was a lady that asked, what was the specific event in your life that inspired the book? And you talk about that in the introduction to the book. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I will talk about it shortly. It's what was inspiring the book was a crisis in my marriage, and when things were falling apart, and I needed. There was in that time there was a lot of deception around me, and I needed to write something to strengthen myself. So I will write truth or experiences or understanding that I had that relate to truth, the absolute truth, and I just put it down on the paper. And when I needed to have a good reflection of something that will bring me back into center, something that will give me the right proportion, I will go back into the book and I will read it to myself and meditate with that. But after a year, I noticed that I have pretty thick book, and the material there is really good. So
It is.
I came to that understanding that one day I will put it together into a book, and I hope that that will invoke something good for other people. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a copy of the manuscript or the book with you?
No, because
Okay,
it's coming out. It's coming out on the 26th. It's coming out on the 26th of September, and you can order it on Amazon. Because
there
of
are
the
people
COVID,
ordering it now. They're on the live stream. They're saying they just ordered it. Then I really wanted you to read this, but I wanted to hear it in your voice. But I think what we need so much in the world today, and of course, not just in the world today, but within ourselves, as you spoke about, is healing. And you write in that section on healing, reach deep within yourself without fear. Feel your heart with effortlessness. For it is only by the touch of love that deep wounds can be healed, not by falling into numbness, but in awakening. So beautiful.
Yeah.
In the last few minutes that we have, do you want to? Is there anything that you want to share about that last reading, or anything that comes to, or anything else about the book that you want to talk about?
In that specific lines, it's is aiming for us to be available. Yeah. To be available for that love to touch. Yeah. It's because if I will sit and I will just say, love, come, love, come. It will not come. The spirit of that love will not come. But if I will be receptive, then that phenomena will happen naturally. Because there is no vacuum in nature. When there is an empty space, then something else enters. When in that moment when we are becoming receptive, we're moving the psychological I am aside, and we let grace enter us. And it is true, the best healing force in nature is love.
Yes.
And that contain with it the grace, that contain with it the compassion, that contain with it the harmony, and that sound of creation. So I saw so many times on myself, and I see it on others, that this is a turning point in their healing when they are allowing love really to penetrate, and that brings the healing to be complete. That brings the healing to be whole. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I find that the only way that we can let love penetrate is by getting out of this hamster wheel up here. Because when you're in pain and conflict, there's the constant banter, and we can argue it one way or the other, or 6 ways to Tuesday. But to, I've heard it said before, drop into love, drop into your heart. We talk about that at Rythmia, drop into your heart. But that really is the absolute key. And it requires a softening and a sort of just dropping the thinking. Like, I don't have to know how this is going to happen. I just got to shut this up.
So it is. There is this two strong, clear way. One, like you said, is to take the mind and just to put it to sit next to us, and and the second one is to find and to connect to the love that we have already, even if it is a handful. and to find that love inside, and just to go and to rest completely into this love. Then there is a whole phenomena that is happening, that this love just grows and grows, and as it grows, naturally the mind have less place to be. So find the love that you have and go and rest in it. Just rest in it. See what happens.
It's so beautiful. I can't think of a better place to put a period on our conversation than to find the love within and rest in that. That's gorgeous. Mitra, brother, what an honor and privilege to share this time with you. I guess, you know what, there's one question I always ask at the end of an interview, which is, if you were in my shoes,
I will dance.
You would dance. I'll do a little dance for you. If you were in my shoes, actually, there's an old saying that goes, never judge another person until you walk a mile in their shoes, right? And I always say, and then after you've walked a mile in their shoes, remember, you're a mile away and you have their shoes. But if you were in my shoes, what question would you ask that I didn't ask? What's the question you would ask that I didn't?
Oh, this is a hard one. Well, I will ask. I will ask, what is my intention for the words, which I referred to it before, but really my intention in the words is to evoke the longing of the people, of humanity, to investigate and to look for the inner peace, to look for their harmony, to look for more grace, to look for more love. Yes.
More peace, more grace, more harmony, more love, more beauty. I love it. I am so grateful for that intention, and I'm grateful for you. And just God bless you, Mitra. It's a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I'll connect with you a little bit later to finalize. But everybody, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. You all hung in there, and I hope that you remember that Mitra's book is coming out. Insights is coming out. There's a pin on the chat where you can go to Amazon to pre-order it. It comes out on the 26th, the same day as the Thrive 2 premiere.
Yes.
So, lots of good synchronicities there. And thank you. We'll see you all next week. Thank you, Mitra. God bless you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.